Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another live with my good buddy, Senior Ryan. Say what's up, dude.
What up, peoples?
So this topic is interesting, and I think it's not always applicable to everybody, but I think we'll explore all the topics and what you guys can do as far as podcasting and YouTube, how that works. Actually, how do you feel about this? I feel like a lot of more YouTubers have success with podcasts and the other way around than podcasts have success. Because it's just like YouTube, like audio and video is completely different. So I know Ryan's probably excited for this. He's like, let's talk about anything. So you've been diving deep into this lately.
Yeah, and I think you're spot on that you're gonna have a lot more success with YouTube to podcast than you are from if you have an audience, right? Then you are. I mean, if you don't have an audience on YouTube, then you're not gonna have much success on podcasts either. But and we'll get into this. It's because of how people consume the content on those platforms, right? A lot of times people don't go to YouTube to listen to a hour-long back and forth interview, right? They're going there to be entertained, like literally they want to laugh or something, or they want to learn how to do something. A very small percentage of people are going there to be like sit down and watch a 3-hour Joe Rogan episode. You know what I mean? Like he gets tons of views, but his market share is massive. So I think that like skews people. They're like, well, Joe Rogan does it. I'm like, quit saying that. He's like an anomaly. Like you can't use him.
And I think the big thing, video obviously is easier to connect with someone, I feel like. And it's easy. People who are good at YouTube, there's a lot of effort into it. And, because of that, the ones that are on the top are usually they're bigger personalities. And that's what podcasting is. People just have to like you and feel like they know you. So, yeah. So why, do you feel like YouTube, it's changed? Or how do you feel like it's changing in the future? Like, podcasters using YouTube, has it become more important, or is it still kind of like a separate dynamic?
I mean, a couple things that I think we should address first is like who absolutely should not use YouTube. Like, because just because you have a podcast doesn't mean your content should be on there. And I think it's really important to note that if you as a podcaster want to just put your audio on YouTube as like a static image or something like that, it's not going to do good at all. And if you ever want that YouTube channel to be anything, to grow, if you ever plan on doing anything with it, you're going to kill the channel itself by putting content on there. And somebody just asked me this on Reddit like 2 days ago. I made a comment and they were asking like, hey, should I just upload my audio to YouTube just so it's there? Like, what could it hurt? And I was like, well, yeah, if you don't ever plan on doing anything with that channel, like what could it hurt? It'll get 1 or 2 views, but like, is it worth the effort that for you to decide? But if you ever plan on using that channel, don't do it, because what YouTube does, like think about their overall objective, keep people on the platform, just like Facebook, TikTok, you name it. Like their goal is to keep people on the platform. So if people are going to your content and they see that people hit it and they're like, oh God, this is a static image, I'm not going to sit here and watch this, and they instantly bounce off, right? Just like your website. When you go to a website and you instantly bounce off, Google sees that as a negative, right? YouTube is owned by Google, so they see that as a negative when you hit their content and you bounce off. So if they keep seeing that over time and they see a low consumption rate, low click-through rate, low consumption rate, high bounce rate, they're going to say all the content on this channel is bad. Thus, we should not recommend this to anybody that comes on YouTube. And if you ever get serious with your channel, then you're going to be in the hole and you're never going to get any exposure. So I just wanted to kind of like set that foundation for people on like, if you only do audio, like I don't even think you should consider YouTube at all.
Yeah, it's not going to be like your bread and butter, I think, ever, to be honest. And YouTube channels, from what I hear from some people, do have like pixels. They have like account history and analytics. So if you do want to get serious, you kind of have that backlog of.
Look at John Lee Dumas, for example. Like he does on YouTube. He puts his only audio ones up there, or it used to be like 6 months ago, a year ago. Last time I looked, he would upload all his audio episodes on there, and he gets millions of downloads on his podcast. But on YouTube, he gets crap. He gets hardly any downloads.
Yeah, I mean, each episode gets like 30 to 60 views.
Whereas podcast gets millions. So like that shows you
Yeah.
like this type of content does not work good on YouTube.
Yeah. Like I mean, I guess he has a few people who listens to it, but I don't think it justifies it if he ever wants to grow it. But okay, so before we get into like kind of what people can do if they want to leverage YouTube, like and still make a podcast, who should like not use YouTube? Like I think you kind of said like if you're just doing audio, like there's probably no way for you to be on YouTube. It has to involve video. So what other things should people be cognizant of creating a podcast that's also usable for YouTube?
I mean, you got to think about how people use YouTube. Like I said, it's either entertainment or education.
Changement.
Yeah.
It's interchangeable entertainment.
Like, so they're going there because they want to learn something, or like I always tell people they either want to learn or they want to laugh. Like which one are you going to help them do? Right. And if you can do both of them, like I don't know who coined it. The first person I heard say it was Ty Lopez. All right. Edutainment. Right. If you can do both of them at the same time, that's awesome. Like we've got a client who he's a very animated personality and he does really good at bridging that gap. And he's done, as far as our clients, he's done better than any other client at growing YouTube and growing the podcast as well. And we can go over what makes content translate well onto YouTube as well.
Personally, like one of my favorite channels is Valuetainment from Patrick Bet David. Because his solo episodes extremely engaging. He has like a whiteboard. He's animated. He has it visual. They do like good editing, and also his interviews. Like they've been on Zoom lately with coronavirus, but they have in-camera angles. They do a lot of like when the person's talking, they'll show like B-roll, and it's pretty like his stuff is really good. And it's Valuetainment. I guess he has that name. Okay, so I think let's hop into so if people want to like start this process and like know the steps. We can hop into that right now. So I guess the first step is either research or, like tech. Which would you say is first to do? Probably research or tech?
I mean, if you already have a podcast, then we just have to talk about like how does that content translate onto YouTube, right? Because it might have to be different. Like if you want to bridge that gap and start doing video content, you might have to change up your content strategy. So that's something you should definitely consider. You want it to be keyword heavy. It's even more important on YouTube than it is in the podcast. So you need to figure out what your angle is. Where are you? Who are you trying to reach? How are you trying to reach them? What is that niche that you're going after? So for my YouTube channel, Podcast School, like I'm doing keyword research on what are people searching as it relates to podcasting. So I use a tool called Uber Suggest, and I go on there and I type in like podcasting, and it'll show you like relevant questions that people are also searching that include that word. It'll give you prepositions. So it'll give you like all these different ways that you can look at the content, other articles that have been written that use that word. So you can start figuring out how people are searching. And then once you know how they're searching, that's how you name your episodes or your videos. You name them on what people are actually searching on Google and YouTube right now. So that's how you should approach it. Figure out your niche, figure out a bunch of keywords, questions in that niche, and start to figure out how to formulate the titles and things like that, so it directly ties to what people are looking for.
Yeah. Ironically, you could probably use YouTube to figure out what kind of YouTube videos to make. You can just search.
Yeah, 100%. And I do that.
Because a lot of it,
and
a
I
lot of
use
it's like
keywords everywhere.
Yeah, even YouTube, the algorithm, like if you type in a keyword, it'll show you what's the top searched. Even Google too, like it'll just automatically assume, and that's some good data. Yeah, just pretty much anything that's clickbaity. If you look at, stuff you watch, it's all stuff that's like immediate, like you want to know, or something you're interested in, So, okay. So I guess tech, I mean, we've upgraded our cameras to DSLRs, Canon's, M50s, right?
Yep.
That's a good camera, but I'm sure a webcam, you can get away with that, or a nice phone camera. Well, actually recording good audio would be tough with a phone.
Yeah, I mean the mics on phones are really good nowadays if you're pretty close to it, like if you're at a good distance from the mic. But if you need to do audio as well, video as well, it's not going to sound that great. Could you do it? Sure. If you want absolutely no barriers, but if you're trying to level up, because YouTube, like the bar is pretty high on YouTube as far as like quality and stuff. It's not like it was 10 years ago. Like if you're coming into YouTube, like that's why, like if you're if you're just getting started with content, it's so much easier with a podcast because the bar is not that high. It's getting higher like every month, but it's not near to YouTube where you have to invest so much in equipment. You have to have everything planned so much more ahead and have everything more structured. But yeah, I mean, I think the Canon M50 is like $500 or something like that. And you can get that. And if you already have a podcast mic like this, you can get started with that. I think you can go all in a good setup that you won't outgrow for $700.
Gotcha. And then editing, pretty much, there's a lot of softwares out there. I used to use Sony Vegas. Like that's a really good software for editing.
I use Adobe products for everything, Premiere, just because it's all seamless. I use Premiere Pro because I can edit, like immediately edit the audio. Like it integrates to Premiere Pro, so it'll just open up in Audition and I can edit it and it'll sync with Premiere. So they all work back and forth seamlessly together. So yeah, that's what I use.
Yeah, and YouTube publishing, that's interesting because like one of our clients, they publish one episode a week and they're doing good. They're growing. But would you say that's like a minimum still, or is there a recommended amount to post?
I've done a lot of research on this, like before I started my channel, and there doesn't actually seem to be like preference on frequency, but I think there is like, okay, if you publish once a month, like in a year, you only get 12 videos out. Like there's not that much content. Like it builds, like the more content you get on your channel, the more, obviously the more views you should get, the more like relevancy YouTube should see in your content. So I think the more content, the better on YouTube, right? And really anything, but yeah, I don't think you want to do more or less than one a week.
Gotcha. How do you feel about like just normal Zoom interviews, like going up on YouTube? I know it's like what some of our clients do that too. Like a lot of people do that, but is there anything to do to help those perform better, you think? Other than obviously having good thumbnails, good kind of everything else, keywords, etc., but like just being more engaging.
I think honestly, like the tech is a big piece of it. Like if you want to use Zoom, like get a nice DSLR like we're using right now. Get some very basic lighting, and it's gonna look a lot better. Like what sucks is when somebody has like their laptop camera and it's like pointing up their nose and the lighting is horrible. Like nobody's gonna watch that crap. Nobody.
Yeah. You'd be surprised, dude. Like ESPN. Like when the coronavirus first happened, all of their like hosts like were on their laptop, just laptop webcam, like headphone mics or even laptop mic. I'm like, how does ESPN not hook them up? Like send them like a streamer package or something. It was making me mad. I'm like, this is like Disney. Like this is $1 billion company. So okay. So
and one little tip with, if you want to put Zoom interviews on YouTube, build an overlay, just like a graphic overlay over your videos. That way it'll cover up the black bars at the top and the bottom. You can put a divider. You can make nice branded little name cards on it. We do that for some of our clients. We didn't always do it, but then we like realized how, like when they wanted to start putting Zoom videos up there, we were like, yeah, this looks like crap. Let's figure out how to spice this up a little bit. And then we started doing that.
Yeah. What lengths do you like, or is that just completely dependent on the topic, etc.?
So I think shorter the better on YouTube. Like, so this is where if you don't want to duplicate content, you have to figure out, like, maybe you have to change your content strategy. Like a 45-minute episode isn't going to work that well on YouTube. Yeah. So I would say somewhere like that 15 to 20-minute range, right, is going to be like a good hybrid between like a 25-minute episode or a podcast episode and a 10-minute YouTube video. Like that's a good middle ground, like that 15 to 20-minute mark.
Yeah, you probably could do also, like, I think interviews you can get away with longer if it's like a certain audience and a certain person. But you probably could get away with like doing a podcast episode that's like 20 minutes, but making it like 3 or 4 YouTube videos. right?
Mm-hmm.
Just like
Mm-hmm.
if they were like sectioned off, because at least maybe this doesn't apply to all type of podcast YouTube channels, but the big vlog ones like David Dobrik and such, like they do like his whole thing is every video is 4 minutes and 20 seconds. I don't know why. He's trolling, but he gets like huge numbers on his videos. So
Yep.
okay.
And
Cool.
it's also like, as far as like YouTube recommending your content, it's not just about like a short video or a long video. It's how long can you keep somebody on. So that's why you gear towards shorter content, because like, okay, what's 42% of a 10-minute video is not near as long as 42% of a 45-minute video. So think about the likelihood of somebody staying on for 42% of a 10-minute video versus a 45. Like, YouTube's going to favor that 10-minute video way more. They're going to show that to way more people, because it's like, oh, this video is keeping people on the platform. It's keeping them here for way longer than these other longer videos. So that's how it looks at content.
Yeah. Nice. Okay, the last topic I have here we could talk about is like promotion on your podcast. Like, obviously affiliate marketing is a big kind of thing in YouTube, because if you're teaching someone something, they want the thing you're talking about and teaching them on. Is there any other things you could do to promote your podcast, or kind of what you have going on through YouTube you've seen? Obviously the description is a good place, but
yeah, couple things. So one, like in your description section, the first line of the description section should be a call to action, because you have to kind of like read more, like expand the description. So you always want to make sure what someone sees before they have to like click to see the whole thing is a call to action. So always put a call to action there. The second call to action on the page should be in the comments. So after you publish your video, you put a call to action as a comment, and then you pin that comment. So no matter how many other comments come in, your call to action, like, hey, reach out to us here, or get this, whatever it is, whatever your call to action is always in that comment, and it's pinned. So that's 2 links that you want visible just when somebody sees the page, like right off the bat.
yeah, it's probably also a good habit. Like, obviously you would have to edit this differently for the podcast or take this out, but like telling people to comment on a certain piece like early on.
Yeah.
Like, let me know what you think. Or...
That's huge. That's huge. And I've started doing that about halfway through. Like, I didn't do it in the very beginning, but once I figured out how to like tie it into my comment, or content, that like whether it's in the beginning or the end, like figuring out how to like bring that in, like tie it into what you're talking about. Hey, like, let me know, like, when did you start a podcast? Comment down below, and then like keep going into your content, something like that.
Cool. So that was, I don't know if there's anything missing there. I mean, that we kind of scratched the surface, but obviously this is a podcast episode too, so we're not gonna get too deep into like, tools or anything. Otherwise,
I mean, I think a couple
the...
like best practices, like you have to think about tags. So on a podcast, tags aren't that important, but like we still do them for all of our clients, because we think one day they might be important and we don't have to go back and update 1,000 episodes. But on YouTube videos, tags are important, and they're a signal to YouTube. So you want to have a bunch of relevant tags on there. You can use things like TubeBuddy, Rapid Tags, a bunch of other platforms to create tags for your videos. And the other thing on there that we haven't talked about is thumbnails, and making sure you have good thumbnails. That's one of the big signals that YouTube gets, is what's the click-through rate on this video? If I show it to 1,000 people, how many people are clicking through it? And then comes the other factors I talk about. Okay, they clicked in, how long are they staying? So this is what the YouTube funnel, if you actually look in the YouTube Creator Studio dashboard, they show the funnel. Okay, we recommended your video to this many people. This many people clicked on it. This many people watched. Here's how long they watched for. They literally show you how they judge your content right in the Creator Studio.
Yeah. What are good percentages usually?
Click-through rate, I've heard anything above 4% is good. I've seen a lot lower. Mine has been varying between 6 and 10% click-through rate.
Nice.
And my recommendation rate has been varying between 25 and 30%. So meaning 25 to 30% of my views are coming from YouTube telling people to watch my video.
And yeah, I feel like that's like where a lot of the growth comes. Like that's the only way to get, because I mean, search is one thing, right? But like search, you're just, if you're not in the top like 10, 20, you're not there, you know? Well, recommendation can be a lot of people. So cool. I don't know if there's any other topics to touch on here with YouTube or any other ones come to mind.
No, I mean, I think, you know, if you're tying in the podcast to YouTube, you really might have to change how you approach your content. There is a hybrid. I mean, we've seen it work, but if you're doing an hour-long interviews and you want to turn that into YouTube, you know, it might not work the best, and you just have to be prepared for that. So maybe you need to shorten your interviews. Maybe you need to cap them. Maybe you need to cut them into multiple segments. Like you might need to just change how you structure your content.
Yeah. It's the good thing though is YouTube, I mean, in my eyes, isn't going anywhere. I mean, it's probably going to be here for the rest of our life and still be the biggest platform. But Spotify, I don't know. They're apparently they're gearing up for September, a launch or something. So we'll see how that goes. Cool. So if you guys have any other questions regarding YouTube, or if you guys can reach out to us on Facebook and then go to join our Facebook group where we're doing this live right now, actually. Podcast Success Secrets. And let us know. Post a post. Post a post. Or post a question. That's probably better. Well, thanks for listening, guys. Till next time. We should probably call this like Podcast Success Talk Show or something. That
sounds lame. I wouldn't want to listen to that.
I'm trying to avoid being like, there's a lot of podcast talk shows about podcasting. I'm trying to avoid that feel.
Yep.
So we'll have to think about it more unless you have any ideas.
No. Comment down below if you have an idea.
Yeah, let's do that. Or just comment down below. You will have to think about that. Cool. But we'll wrap up there, and peace out, guys. Till next time.